Welcome back to 3D Modular Madness. RollHexfinity, my infinite ball system, has just gotten 1,000 times more capable. So far, I've released almost a dozen different ball path bricks. But what if you could build any brick you could imagine? Today, I'd like to introduce you to Atomic RollHexfinity. I subdivided the hex grid into 6 triangles and designed subatomic pieces to fill them. Now you can build virtually any possible ball path. I started with the original ball paths, split them up, and allowed you to place them however you want within the new grid. Mix large and small curves, mix flat and slope paths, and even change the slope directions. Not stopping there, I designed single triangle pieces, including flats, curves, splits, and merges to fully unlock the full potential of Atomic RollHexfinity. Now any of the 6 sides of a hexagon can have balls coming or going, and they can connect in virtually any way you can imagine. Atomic RollHexfinity takes us from a handful of ball paths to literally thousands of possibilities. RollHexfinity was already infinite, but with Atomic RollHexfinity, the creative possibilities have exploded. Today, I'm going to show you how to build the Atomic RollHexfinity starter kit step by step, and then take a deeper look at the engineering of Atomic RollHexfinity and all of the pieces and what they are good for. In this next part, we are going to look at how to assemble the starter kit of Atomic Hexfinity. This is a fully assembled version. It comes with enough extra parts that you can make the mirror image version of this. You can flip it the other direction. I'm going to accept this aside as a reference, and then I'm going to show you all of our parts. So first we have a source and a sink. This is just the atomic, this is the air source, but you could not print that if you already have a classic source brick. Same thing with the sink brick. The sink brick has not changed in a very long time. So there's a source and sink brick, it's included. If you haven't printed them before, just print them out. I'm gonna set them to the side real quick. These are also a new piece. They are a plate, so they're 7 millimeters high, and they allow us to have Hexfinity air bottoms and then put normal Hexfinity on top of it. So these are gonna be important because they're gonna allow us to put this piece and this piece onto our system, which is either gonna be all Atomic Hexfinity. So we're gonna set those aside, set these aside. Those are gonna come in a little bit later. Next, this is probably the most important part, is all of the actual ball paths we're gonna use. We're gonna have 2 downslopes, these 2. We're gonna have 2 traditional tight curves, which is right here and right here. And then we're gonna need to use 3 one direction, which is 1, 2, 3. Actually, sorry, 4 one direction, and then 1 the other direction. So this is where we've got 2 sets of 4, so you can swap it either direction. So those are all the ball paths. We're gonna use 2 of these 2T bases. These are not absolutely required, but they will make the whole thing more stable, which is lovely. And then the key thing is seeing how to build the 3 towers. There's 3 towers we're going to need to assemble for this. That's what we're gonna actually take a close look, is how to assemble each of the 3 towers. So there's a little tower here, and a tower here. And then putting the rest on top of it is actually gonna be pretty easy. So let's go ahead and start at the beginning. So this is the first tower. And I'm just gonna show a little bit how it comes apart. So this is, I didn't quite make it clear, but there's a 1T version and a 2T version. So this is the 2T version here. And this is a 2T version here, this one that goes across. So you have those like this. There. So the first assembly is to put 2 of these together like this. And then we're gonna put a 1T on the bottom here and 1 on the top. And then this one's just loose. And now you'll see how this is all gonna come together. So we're going to take this piece, and that's gonna join these 2. So these can also be structural. And then we're going to use this piece to attach to the bottom plate. Now to complete our curves, we're going to put a single curve around like this, which matches that, and then we're going to put a straight like that, push it all down firmly. And now we have the bottom of the run, and this just sits snugly just like that. So now we have the first tower. That's the easy one. So this is the next tower. The next tower is going to attach like this. We're going to attach it in like that. But let's first figure out how to build it. So let's take a closer look. So this has got to be a 2T because it's got to go all the way across. And this has got to be a 2T, which means this one's got to be a 1. So we're going to kind of go, let's go top to bottom. So first we're going to start out by putting a 1T on top of a 2T. And then we're going to put a 1T under that. So now we have sort of this zigzag stack. And then we're going to build the rest of this. So we have these side by side like that. And then we're going to join them like that. And then we're going to put another 2T this direction, and now we have the input ramp's going to go here, and the input ramp's going to go here, and the exit's going to go here. Entrance, exit. Now we're just going to do this bottom piece, and as with all sort of brick building, you always want to have, here you can see the gap is between these two. You want to cover the gap with the two. So we cover that gap, and then we put a 1 on this side, and now the gap's on this side. Now we cover that gap, and we put this one here, and now we have the next tower. So now we can continue our ramp. So let me just make sure you can see this here. This is going to, in fact, I'm going to pull these out of the way because they're just kind of a little hard to see. So now we can just snug that on there. Now we're going to take the curve from the other direction and put it on top, continuing around. And now we're going to do our single one from the other side. And then our next straight. So now we have all the way up to here. So again, we're going to pull this aside for a moment. And now we're going to do the last tower, which is definitely the most complicated, but we mostly just need to get this in the right place. These ones down here, and this is the top down ramp. And then this little one is just a nicety that lets us, again, sort of make things lock together a little bit nicer. So I'm going to take off the bottom, and we're going to do this top down again. Because once we get the top right, then the bottom is just a bunch of repetition to get all the way to the ground. So the top needs to have this tier. These first two are the same height, and then it goes down, down, down. So the very top is an actual double. Then we have a single here. And good brick building, we have a double coming off here. And then we have a double connecting the single to the double together here. And this completes this part right here that's underneath here, the support. Now we put a single here. I have it incorrect. I apologize. The single is going to go right here. And we have a double here. And then we have a double here, and that completes the stair step. And then we're going to put another single here to fill in the gap. So there we have the top. Now, the bottom doesn't matter too much. We just want to, again, alternate, but I'm going to show you how I did it. I put the single right here and then the double here. So we're going to put a single here, and then we're going to put a double here. And these two don't need supported anymore. These ones are just going to be free. And now we're going to alternate again. This is where the gap is. We're going to put a double there, and then put a single on this side. Good brick building. Now this is where the gap is. We're going to put a double there, and then we're going to put a single here. And we're going to continue, double, single. And now that we're at the bottom, we are going to break the rule just a little bit so we can have this one sticking out the side, and then this one's going to go double double. Now we have this tower. Now this tower we're going to attach in two ways. So first we'll just attach it with the slope. And that can be fine. Like, we don't even really need this part, but there's a little wiggly stuff here. And so I decided to put this little piece out here, and then we can put this base piece right here, underneath these two, push it down, no more wiggle. And once we get everything nice and solid, then you can see we can actually just pick up the whole thing as a unit. All right, we're almost done. Now we're going to use the rest of these curves here. We're gonna put curve there, curve here, curve here. And here is kind of the cool part. This is gonna be essentially floating. Because of the friction, all we have to do is connect one triangle here, and that is essentially floating. And then we can put the source on top and the sink on the bottom. And again, we've got these three extras. I'm gonna set those aside. And let's roll some balls. I always have to drop at least one ball. Okay, let's do a quick tour of the pieces. So I said the original design was really about taking these chord ball paths and letting you rearrange them however you like. So here they are. And we only used a few of these in the starter pack, but all of them are available. So here we have the down slopes all split apart. We also have all of the flats, just like over here. Now, beyond that, we also have a few more 2 triangle pieces, which I call zigzags, but really they're S-curves. And you can see them here. We also have 7mm slope versions and flat versions of those. And then the single triangle pieces really give you a ton of flexibility. So we have a flat curve, 2 sloped curves, a split brick, and a merge brick. And all those together give us tons of possibilities once you start to explore. One thing in particular is that this is a 7mm height curve, and you can therefore go 7mm up every single triangle, which means you can go up 6 full height units within one brick with this new system. As you saw in the starter pack, these pieces, the 2T plate and the 1T plate, are essential for the system. They allow you to put things together. They allow you to do curves that go up, up. Next, this is a key piece that allows you to place Atomic Hexfinity on top of normal Hexfinity. So this is the piece that splits the hex grid into the 6 pieces, and then you can put your own ball path through the brick. Now, I ended up with a few different varieties of this piece, and I've got 3 of them here. This one has some little lips, because one thing you will find out as you start to play around with this is if you're putting together a ball path, particularly with the 1 unit hexes, as soon as you pick it up, they just fall out, which is sometimes rather frustrating. As much as this is a nice little simple piece, but if you use this piece, then everything fits in a little more snug. And you can in fact lift it out and everything stays in place and you can put it back down. And in fact, one of my favorite things about this piece is that if you fully fill it in, you end up with this almost puzzle-like completeness for your paths. Last, though, what I'm going to show you right now is this piece, which allows you to do stacking. So I can put a path through it like this, and then you can still stack even more action, either with Atomic Hexfinity or just with one of the classic bricks if you want to stack on top of each other. The last core type is, this is a 3 height unit stacker. There's also a 4 height unit stacker. And that is the 3 main types of these, but there is 4 main types, but there is also a friction version of each of these that makes things fit a little more hold them in place snug. This is a 1/3 hex or 2 triangle base plate. It also has the little friction nubs in it, which allow pieces to go in snug and then stay in place. And this piece finally, which allows you to build on top of Atomic Hexfinity bottoms and start to put normal Hexfinity on top of that. So that's really it. That's all of the pieces and how they kind of all work together. Happy designing with this new Atomic RollHexfinity. I hope you enjoyed as much as I have. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me, and I would love to see your creations. So share your comments, share your creations. I want to see what other people are doing with this. That inspires me to make new, exciting stuff out of this. I'm making it based on what I think is interesting, but I think that you are going to have the most interesting feedback to guide me for the next set of bricks.